Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Press Play Lifestyle Inspired podcast, where we do interviews with people like Rheanna here on topics to help our listeners, that's you, find the resources, tools, and support they need to be their best inspired selves. So how are you today?
I am fantastic. The sun is shining, so that makes me happy.
I know. So it should be interesting for our audience to realize we actually are ridiculously close neighbors. We live in the same exact city, which we just found out. So yes, thank heavens it's warm. It's like sunny because it's been so cold.
Bitterly cold.
We left the house on Friday. I have 4 small humans that I try not to let die, and we left at it was in the driveway 9 degrees. By the time we got to school, it was 5. Like it dropped. Like I'm like, we're gonna all freeze to death. So yeah, it was not my favorite day.
No.
Today was like 12, so we're moving up. So I say, oh, it's too much. I can't. So why don't you tell our listeners, what it is that you do and how you help support people?
Absolutely. So thank you for having me on the show. I
You're
am
welcome.
happy and excited and honored to be on. I've listened to several of your podcasts, and I think it's really important to share our stories. I think it's our vulnerabilities and our stories that connect us as human beings. And just sharing information to help people is really important and something dear to my heart. So thank you for having me.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah, I was reading a little bit about your information. I thought, well, she's totally fit for the show. It's like totally the point of it. But yeah, I think that it's so easy to find bad news. Why not share some good news? And I had a few people say to me when I was, because I have to recruit people to be on the show, and they'll say, well, I don't have an inspiring story. I'm like, you're alive, right? Like everyone's story it's the chronicle of their life. Like the fact that you're still alive is a miracle. So I just love hearing, I like meeting new people and hearing about how their mess has made them into masters of helping people in a new area. So it's fun for me. So thank you for the highlight of my day so far.
Absolutely.
So tell me about it. Like I found it interesting because I don't think I could live, I would probably die. You said you have a wheat-free lifestyle. Is that still something that you're following?
It is. And
How
that
are you
actually,
alive?
I eat a lot of stuff, just
Okay.
not with wheat in it. And it actually started, it was really my journey to becoming a health and life coach started about 8 or 9 years ago. My son, who's 12 now, was, a toddler back then. And I was not taking care of myself at all, physically or mentally. I was, just making it day by day. And of course, he was doing fine. I was keeping him alive, but I wasn't being the mom I should be. I wasn't being the wife that I could really be. And I wasn't, I lost myself. And it didn't hit me until I was working at a church at the time. One of the church members approached me and asked me if I was pregnant. And I was like, almost instant tears. No, that's just my fat belly. And we all as women know better than to ask other women that question. I wasn't happy about it then, but now I can say I'm glad she asked me that because it really prompted me to start researching how I could be healthier. And the research I did, I read a couple books. They led me to focus on what I was putting in my body as a place to start. So those books, a couple of them were about removing wheat from your diet, and I tried it, and within 2 weeks I was sold. I was astonished at the benefits physically and mentally. Not only did I lose weight, but my headaches went away. I no longer had allergies. It was crazy. Sinus issues were gone.
Wow. So you
And
seriously
then,
had some sort of, I mean, maybe everyone has some level, but you really had an aversion, just period, to what it was doing to your
right.
body.
And I had no idea about it
So how did
until I
you live
removed it.
without? Right now, I'm like, well, thank goodness you did that, right? Because you can't even imagine living that way anymore.
Right, right.
I had the same experience, and it didn't change my life quite as radically as it changed yours. But I've had 4 children, and I was at a Wisconsin Disabilities Partners program where we get together. I have a child on the autism spectrum. And so we advocate for families who have children who have different supports that are needed. And this woman behind the counter was like, "Oh my God, how far along are you?" I'm like, "I'm in my 40s and I've had 4 kids. I'm just back." And
Oh,
she
no.
was like devastated. And then because I'm me and I felt bad because I was rude to her. And
Right.
I was like, "Wait a minute. She just asked me if I was pregnant." And I'm like, "I'm clearly not pregnant." I'm just like, my butt is the same size as my gut. So, I mean, come on. So, but yeah. And I'm like, we live in Wisconsin, people. You can't ask people that.
Right, right.
But luckily for you, it was something that helped you kind of spur some change.
It
And
absolutely did.
oh, that's wonderful. So after you went wheat free, it sounds like your journey just sort of continued to evolve into mindfulness and law of attraction and all kinds of other things. So like, how did that kind of journey take you? Like 9 years is a long time to be on that kind of journey. So you've clearly gone through quite a few transformations yourself, I have to imagine.
I have. It has been a long journey, and I've loved every part of it. Um, and I say that it's kind of interesting because so yesterday was a very emotional day for me. It would have been my mom's 70th birthday,
Mm.
and she passed away about a year ago. So when I went wheat free, I was telling everybody about how I changed my life by doing this one little thing. And I had so many friends and family saying, "You should be a wellness coach. You should help other people." And I'm like, "No, I could never do that. That's not me." I just didn't think it was what I was supposed to do. Um, Fast forward to about 3 years ago now, was when my mom's health started to decline. And that completely disrupted my life. Oops. Oh, there we go. Sorry. It completely disrupted my life. It shoved me violently into the sandwich generation where I was trying to take care of my mom, trying to take care of my son, trying to work. I was the last person on my list of priorities. And that's what we tend to do, especially as women and moms. And, you know,
I wish I could say your story was unique, but I think we're on our like 50 somethingth podcast. There's a lot stacked up and it just breaks my heart because literally that line is said by every single mom, like
yeah,
every single one. And
absolutely.
my story is different, and we won't go there, but my journey started weirdly similar the same way. My mom went into the hospital. My dad and my stepdad both had a heart attack.
Oh, gosh.
My dog died. My other dog died. My daughter was diagnosed with autism. My son was born, and I lost my job in like 2 months. And I'm like, what in the world is the world doing? Like, all like firmly smashed by the universe. I think it dropped the earth on my head. And for me, that was that sandwich
Yeah,
caregiving experience was the catalyst for, it was like necessity being the mother of invention though, right? Like you had no choice but to change or you would perish. Like just there's nothing, what you did before didn't work anymore, right?
absolutely. I was in the middle of like balancing 8 million different roles, mom, wife, daughter, sister, friend. I mean, making all my mom's health decisions, taking care of everything she needed. Um, and it got to the point where I experienced anxiety like I had never felt before, like pulsing through my body, keeping me up at night. The stress was just so overwhelming. Um, I actually got myself a coach to help with dealing with stress and anxiety, and it made all the difference in the world. And it was kind of like, the light bulbs went off, the lightning was striking. This is what I knew I needed to do at that moment. I found my purpose was, this stuff is so valuable to me, the mindfulness, the nutrition, the exercise, mindset, understanding how law of attraction works. It all melded together for me into this ball of amazingness. And that's when I decided to sign up for a certification program to become a health coach and a life coach. And I'm glad I did both of them because they're intertwined. You can't do one without the other.
I think I not the same journey at all, but again, when I started, I went for health coach first, which is weird because I never ever intended to be a health coach, but I probably needed some nutrition info. And then I did life coach and then exec coach, and there's some of the foundational components of transformation are foundational components of transformation, right? It's that you're a better health coach because you also learn some of the life, and you're a better life coach because you can integrate some of the health. Not that people who are specialized are great too, and it's amazing, but I think that having that broader base of knowledge, it can't hurt, at least not in the transformation space, and just continues to attract more possible solutions and ways to help people transform. But It's a lot of work though, right? I mean, it's a lot of work to go through those courses. And I think people undervalue or underestimate the time and the commitment that it takes to go through a Hardy program. And make it like your life's work. It's a little bit different than the like $25 like little life cert thing.
Right, absolutely. And it's this constant exercise of like putting puzzle pieces together to figure out what works best for your clients.
Yeah, exactly. So I think one of the I love your story and the reason that you kind of got into this, and I'm sorry yesterday was a bad day for you.
That's okay. I mean, it wasn't a bad day. It was just a very emotional day.
My father's birthday was February 4th, and he passed away a year ago last year too. Mm-hmm. So it was like, just, you're mindful that they're not here because it's like a special day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But one of the things that I think I saw, so you talk about, and you say you like to focus on self-care, helping with stress, mindfulness, habit change, nutrition, which I think are really foundational. What is your favorite kind of client to really like help them dig in and get the support that they need from someone like you?
Yeah, it's absolutely people that are like me. It's the busy moms that are trying to figure out. I think my favorite is the women who are trying to figure out their true passion. Like, they've lost themselves by being, a mom and a wife and doing things for everybody else. And those are important things. I'm a mom, but it doesn't necessarily define who I am. It's still a very important piece of who I am. So I love when I have clients who just they don't know where to start. So I'm giving them the tools and resources that they need, small ones, because little changes have big impacts. And just kind of steering them in a direction where they're figuring out what makes them happy and what they want to do and what changes they need to make.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I don't know what else to say to that. I just think it's nice. One of the other pieces on there that I saw you kind of point out was, it seems like it was inspired perhaps by your mom's health decline, is that you like helping people learn how to avoid lifestyle illness. And it was it was explicitly spelled out that way. So what does that look like for you? Like, if you're kind of coaching around that avoidance and helping people find a new path.
Absolutely. And that's where that health coach certification training comes in. It's about those basic needs. We need food and water, and we need sleep, and we need exercise. And those are hard for us to fit into our lives. We're so busy. And again, we're putting other people before us. So going to the gym is not our top priority. So I really like to help people figure out how to hit that easy button. I make it easy to figure out what foods fuel you and what foods drain you. I have a program specifically to do that. And then I like to talk, I don't like to say exercise. I feel like it's a scary word and it's very intimidating and it sounds very strict. You have to exercise. I like to call it movement because sometimes it's literally just getting up and walking around for 10 minutes. And if that's all you can do on a daily basis, then you start with that. And that's how you build the habit.
I call it M3. Mine is movement, meditation, and munching. Because it's more fun, right? But yeah, I think movement is a huge thing. I think when we do call it exercise, it makes us feel like we have to go run a marathon or something. But
right.
I remember I would stand up and just like walk around the house. Like we have this little mini like square loopy thing that you can walk. So I walk around and then stop and watch a show and then walk around. And my husband's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm just getting some movement in." And he's like, "That's not going to help." He's like, "Well, I don't know, not ever moving my body at all and moving it some, it's not going to hurt." Right.
Right.
Like, I
Right.
think we set ourselves up for thinking like, it only counts if it's 30 minutes of intense aerobic exercise where you break a sweat and your heart rate's over target. Bleh.
Yeah.
And well, that's good, but like if you haven't moved your butt in like 3 months, maybe you should start with, walking to the mailbox and making sure you don't
Right.
break a leg. And yeah, I think that's what makes it hard sometimes for people to shift back
Mm-hmm.
because they think that they have to like somehow undo 43 years of bad decisions on moving versus reversing
Exactly.
today's decision, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
what can you do today?
Get up and have that spontaneous dance party right there in your living room or your office or wherever you are.
Be silly. We forget
Yep.
how to be silly, I think, too. Like play doesn't go away just because we get older, but we don't. Right?
Right.
We're like, and then we wonder why our kids are like watching a lot of TV or on the video games or doing a lot of like stuff on the phones. Well, they're watching us not move, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So one of the other things that I thought, well, you think you're very interesting in general, but you used to lead a lot of book clubs. So what is one of your favorite books that you kind of worked a group of people through with you?
Sure. I've done this book a couple times and I will continue to read it probably forever because it's different every time you do it. And it's called E Squared. So it's E with the number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it's by Pam Grout. And I believe that there are 9 real life experiments to show you how you create your world around you. And there are things you do with each chapter. You read the chapter, you have one experiment to do, and then you give it 48 hours to see if it works or not. There's one in there that's a little longer, but that one has been a lot of fun because we've done it in a Facebook group where you have a group of people and you give them, the deadline to read, and some people are slower, some people work ahead. That's just kind of the nature of reading books, I guess.
People do whatever they want.
But it's really fun to share what happens when we do these experiments together. There have been some very crazy stories, and then just some little ones where you're like, yeah, I think it worked. So it's been awesome. There's also an E cubed, so E with the 3. They're really fun books if you're into the law of attraction and quantum physics and those kinds of things.
Yeah, I was going to say those feel very law of attraction-y, where
Mm-hmm.
you kind of co-create your reality, and which isn't actually part of, I don't know, a lot of people who study life coaching, I think that those types of things come into play, or those resources seem to be very common in those sort of specific um, careers or
Sure.
callings. Like, we find a lot of the same types of resources, but I have not heard of either of those, so I'm intrigued. So I might have to go see what. I'm an egghead, so I did software development for like 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started out with more like the Dr. Joe, I always say his name wrong, but Dispenza, he's into sort of quantum physics and brain psychology and all of that, but a little on the woo side, a little less on the
Yeah.
tech side. So I started that way and then moved into like less traditional like learnings versus kind of the other way. But it is interesting, depending if you're talking to really right brain or left brain people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes it's as simple as just I can't believe how powerful a reframe is. Like if you're
Right.
having a crud day, right, and you're just like, my day sucks, I'm in a bad mood, and your whole face, your whole body's crabby, and then you're like, wait a minute, all right, I'm not having a bad day. Bad things happen to me my day, and all of a sudden you shift.
Right.
Um, and that's really practical stuff, right? It doesn't have to be metaphysical or scary. It can be everyday ways that we just need someone else to support us in our journey and say, hey, have you heard of this? Did you see that this is an option?
Right. And because it's practical, but it's not always easy. Um, and I often tell clients who struggle with that a little, because sometimes it sounds like you're telling people you can't ever be negative, you only have to be positive. And that's not the case. That's not realistic. But that's how it feels to some people. So I often tell clients to just try to be neutral. So don't have the reaction either way. You don't have to be mad about something. You don't have to turn it around and make it a positive. Just let it be and kind of be in that moment and be neutral. And that's made a huge difference in my life.
Yeah, I can see that too. I've had a couple. I feel like the cult of life coaches here, but like non-believers, right? I've so some family that were like, you went from doing what to what, like,
Yeah.
and we can't all just will ourselves happy. We can't, sometimes life does throw you crap. And I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, it does. But you don't have to react to the crap. Like, I mean, I'm human. I still yell at my kids like a crazy banshee sometimes, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not proud of it, but it happens. Um, but if you want to, you can change your reaction
Yep.
or your
Absolutely.
response. It's response, right? React is when you just kind of do. Respond is when you choose and do.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I would say the same. It's been a life changer for
Yeah.
just kind of going, okay, wait a minute. My daughter who has special needs can't help that thing. So me being mean and angry is really not serving her or me.
Right.
So this is never going to end. It's always going to be this way, right? For the rest of the life that I have. I may need to figure out a new way of looking at this, even if it is rose-colored glasses, because it's way better than the poop-colored ones. I'm just going to say. So,
Yes. Absolutely.
yeah, I've had a few. So do you have any current like programs or offerings that you're promoting right now within your business that you'd like to share?
I am. So I have one coming up. It's my Reset Your Body in 14 Days program. And this is something I do twice a year. I like to do it right before the holidays. So before people get all crazy and stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like to do it again around this time every year, like right before spring, kind of in between winter and spring. If you're here in Wisconsin, it's winter until June. So,
Winter and
um,
winter and winter. It's like being a hobbit, right? They have second
oh,
breakfast, they have
yes.
second winter, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so in spring.
yes, in spring, quote unquote. It's a chance for you to get curious about your health.
Mhm.
Um, it's a 14-day program. 7 days of that is eliminating things from your diet like gluten, dairy, sugar, alcohol, and caffeine. And these 5 things have really big impacts on our bodies that we don't realize they have until we remove them. Um, but you really find out which foods give you energy and which foods drain your energy. And you figure out how fabulous you can feel when you know what fuels you. Um, so I do it online as a Facebook group. It's coming up. It starts March 7th. I normally charge $57 for this program. I have a special right now. I'm advertising $10 off if you sign up by the end of the month. And then I also want to offer anyone who's listening to your program that wants to participate another $10
Oh my gosh,
off.
that's like
So
so
if they
cool.
contact me and mention this podcast, they can do it for $37.
Wow, so basically, like you're just gifting them because that's so inexpensive. Yeah, I would really encourage people to try it because seems like a really off comment, but so I have narcolepsy, which is a sleeping disorder,
Okay.
and essentially I have trouble regulating being sleepy or being awake, and so I always thought like I drank a lot of coffee. Now I'm talking like pots,
Yeah.
not like a cup. And I'm like, well, I have this thing. And since you know, I'm medicated for this too, and I'm this for this too, it's different for me. Well, I didn't realize I was doing this, but I was trying to because I was getting headaches and it was probably like low coffee, like withdrawal symptoms or something.
Sure.
So I started drinking hot water because I'm just cold. So I just
Mm-hmm.
started drinking hot water with lemon and lime in it because I wanted the hot.
Right.
I haven't had coffee in like a month and I feel great.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
I feel really good. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I knew that, I mean, I went through the same courses. I knew it, but I
Mm-hmm.
thought, oh, it's not me. It doesn't apply to me. But I never tested it. Right.
Sure.
I never checked. And I've been getting up at like 5 a.m. and working out for like 2 weeks. And I have not been moving much. So it's a pretty big deal. And I thought, oh my goodness, like how many other things that I'm just living my life, trying not to die. And then you don't pay attention and you're not mindful. And why not? Like 7 days won't kill you, right? Just see.
7 days. It sounds like a lot, but it if I can do it, anyone can do it. And exactly what you said is what my clients have said. They've walked away with at least one thing that has made a difference and it's going to change their life going forward.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. So we'll definitely make sure we have a link to your group in the show notes, which means I'm going to have to move your episode up somehow. So we'll figure out what the date is. But it's all good stuff. It's all good things, right? We definitely want people to have an opportunity to feel good. And especially, I would say, I would love to see some local people because I think we are all addicted to like beer, which has got like so much bad
Mhm.
stuff in it, which I like, I haven't drank in a long time, but it's a medicine thing, but I feel better too.
Yeah.
And cheese, maybe like dairy, and not that it's not bad. I don't think anything in moderation, but what if you like have a really bad allergy to cheese, but since you live here, you're eating it like with, everything short of
Right.
dripping it in your drink. We pretty much put cheese on everything. So
Yeah.
there's just, you wake up every day and everyone has coffee and you never thought to change it. So just, it's like a fun little biology experiment. You just
It
have to be
is.
the one that you're experimenting on. So
Our bodies are our own personal labs and we get to test it out and see how we feel.
yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm sure you're a very busy mom and you're very busy with your business, but we really appreciate it. And I can't wait to hear how many people sign up for your program.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jackie.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.